I never thought finding a cheap apartment in this city would come with a curse. Rent here was brutal, and after my breakup, I was desperate for a place of my own. When I saw the listing online, $600 a month, utilities included, no credit checks, I jumped on it without hesitation. It felt like fate, like maybe life was finally throwing me a bone. The ad mentioned the landlord's name, Mr. Walter Kavanaugh, and gave a phone number. When I called, the voice that answered was gruff and tired, like gravel scraping against gravel. He didn't want small talk. He just said, "Cash only, $600 on the first of every month. Slide it under the door of 2B. Keys will be in your mailbox tomorrow." Then he hung up before I could even ask about paperwork. It was strange, sure, but I didn't care. The next evening, in the dim hallway of that old red brick building, I bent down and slid my first envelope of cash under the dark green door of 2B. I heard a soft scrape from inside, the envelope pulled away. No word, no greeting, just silence. The following morning, true to his word, the keys to apartment 3C sat in my mailbox. That's how it all began. The place itself wasn't bad. Small, dated, with radiators that hissed and pipes that clanked, but it had character. I worked long hours and spent most of my nights exhausted, so I didn't pay much attention to the building's quirks. At night, I sometimes heard faint footsteps in the hallways or the sound of something being dragged across the floor above me. But I told myself it was just old bones in the building shifting. Every month I followed the same routine. Rent in cash, sealed envelope, slid under 2B. The envelope always disappeared by the next morning. I never once saw Mr. Kavanaugh in person. Not in the lobby, not checking mail, not even through the peephole. His door always looked untouched, the brass number tarnished and dull, like no one had opened it in years. Still, it didn't bother me. If he wanted to be a recluse, fine by me, as long as he kept the rent cheap. It wasn't until late November that I started noticing things. One night I came home from work past midnight. The hallway lights buzzed faintly, casting weak yellow halos. As I walked up the stairs, I heard something from 2B. At first, it sounded like muffled voices, two people whispering frantically. I paused outside the door, straining to hear. The voices multiplied, overlapping, whispering in a language I couldn't understand, rising and falling in a frantic rhythm. My skin prickled. I leaned closer, holding my breath, when suddenly it all stopped. Silence, absolute and heavy, pressed against my ears. I stepped back, heart racing, and hurried into my apartment. That night, I dreamt of envelopes, endless hallways lined with doors, and me sliding envelope after envelope underneath them, while shadowy hands reached out from the cracks to snatch them up. Each time the shadows whispered my name, I woke drenched in sweat. After that, I started asking around. In the laundry room, I casually mentioned Mr. Kavanaugh to a woman folding towels. She gave me a sharp look and said, "Don't talk about him." Another neighbor, an older man with sunken eyes, muttered, "2B's been empty for years," before shuffling away. No one wanted to talk about it. But if 2B was empty, who the hell was taking my money? By December, I couldn't ignore it anymore. One morning, I marched to 2B with my rent envelope and knocked. Once, twice. Nothing. I knocked louder, my fist echoing through the hallway. Still silence, but I swear I felt it. Someone was standing on the other side of that door, close enough that their breath should have fogged through the cracks. The air turned cold, colder than the winter air outside, and my palm stuck slightly to the door when I touched it, as if frost had bloomed on the surface. I whispered, "Mr. Kavanaugh." The lock clicked once from inside, sharp and deliberate, not turning to open, just clicking, like a warning. I stumbled back, muttered something about coming back later, and hurried away. That month, I almost didn't pay. I hesitated for hours, pacing, telling myself I was being paranoid, but in the end, I gave in. I slid the envelope under the door as usual and went back to bed. That night, at 3:07 a.m., I woke to the sound of paper rustling in my kitchen. Terrified, I crept out of bed. There, sitting on my kitchen table, was the very same envelope I'd slid under 2B's door hours earlier, torn open. The cash was gone. My blood went ice cold. Someone had been inside my apartment, but there were no signs of forced entry, and my door had been locked from the inside. I barely slept after that. The next day, I went to the building office. A bored clerk sat behind a cluttered desk, sipping stale coffee. I asked him about my landlord, about Mr. Kavanaugh. He frowned, tapped at his computer, and finally turned the screen toward me. "There's no one by that name here? You rent from a management company?" "That's impossible," I insisted. "I've been paying him every month, apartment 2B. The clerk's face paled slightly. He scrolled, then muttered, "2B is vacant, has been since..." He hesitated. "Since 2017. The last tenant died, Walter Kavanaugh, heart attack." I stood frozen, the words echoing in my skull. Dead for 5 years. I left the office in a daze, barely feeling my legs carry me back upstairs. I passed 2B without looking at it, though I could feel something watching me through the peephole. Inside my apartment, I sat in the dark, staring at the envelope still lying on my table. That night, footsteps echoed in the hallway outside my door, slow, heavy, deliberate. They stopped just beyond my threshold. Then came the soft scrape of paper against wood. Something slid under my door. I waited for minutes, heart hammering, before I dared pick it up. It was my envelope, empty, but the handwriting had changed. Where I had written, "Rent 3C, someone had scrawled in jagged letters, "You belong to me." I dropped it instantly, stumbling back. The lights flickered, shadows stretched across my walls, and in the corner of my living room, just for an instant, I saw him. A gaunt figure, skin ashen, eyes sunken, standing perfectly still, watching. Then the light steadied, and he was gone. I didn't wait another night. At dawn, I shoved my belongings into bags, left the keys on the counter and ran. I didn't stop until I was across town, sleeping on a friend's couch, shaking so badly I couldn't even explain. Weeks passed before I told anyone. Even then, no one believed me. But sometimes, late at night when the world is quiet, I hear it again, the faint shuffle of paper sliding across my floor. I wake up, and though my doors are locked, though I live in a different building now, I half expect to see an envelope lying there, empty, with my name scrawled in jagged letters, because the truth is, I don't think I ever paid rent for that apartment. I think I paid something else. And whatever deal I unknowingly made, it isn't finished. Mr. Kavanaugh always collects, and one day soon, he's coming to collect me.